everyone, and welcome to the Theater of Football. I am Mike Hodem, and I'm joined by Patrick Heinrich. Patrick, hello.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Hey, Mike.
Hey, Patrick. We were going to talk about our transfer dealings or lack thereof and the release of the Premier League schedule that came out yesterday. But unfortunately, we're going to start off the video by talking about Harry Maguire. I was woken up, or actually I wasn't woken up. I wake up 2-3 times in the middle of the night this morning. I was once again woke up. Probably the second time I woke up, but we don't need to get into that. Never mind. Anyways, I had an alert on my phone saying Harry Maguire was arrested in Greece. And let's just say I didn't get back to sleep. Not because I think Harry Maguire is the best player to ever play for Manchester United, but he's captain of the club. And to have the captain of your club arrested by the police, it was a little bit like having Steven Gerrard as your captain.
Zing.
Patrick, I don't want to get into the details of what happened yet, because I feel like a lot of it is just conjecture at this point. I don't really want to get into the ins and outs of it.
Yeah.
But because we do know that Maguire has been arrested. Reports are that, I don't want to get into conjecture again, but reports are that he's going to spend his second night in jail tonight.
Yeah.
If everything goes well and he gets off, he comes back to the club, but he's there for when the season kicks off on the weekend of the 19th of September. Should he still be captain?
Well, I mean, certainly. I don't even know if he's accused of wrongdoing at all. I mean, being a captain of a squad has a certain, requirements that come with it, and one of them is don't get arrested in Greece. Don't get arrested in any country, I should say. I mean, if you're going to get arrested in Greece, but don't get arrested anywhere, for that matter. And I think it's definitely an option that should be on the table, is to take it away, because I don't think that it's representative of the club, and I think that it's I would do it if I was in that position. I'd take it away. I'd give it to someone else. I'd give it to Bruno Fernandes.
That was going to be my follow-up question, would be if you took it away, who would you give it to? So you're saying Bruno.
Yes.
I would like to say I disagree with you, but I feel like there's no other option if you take it away from Harry Maguire. And I feel like at this point, he's been arrested. That's not good. You have to have some type of punishment. I don't think the club's going to be strong enough to suspend him for games.
Nope.
I don't know if we can afford to suspend him for games, for that matter, but we can take away the captaincy. And I read many United fans' Twitter posts over the last couple months, and a lot of them indicate that he was lucky to get the captaincy in the first place.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he was lucky, but there was just really no other option.
Yeah.
When Ashley Young got sold to Inter in the middle of January, who were you going to give it to? Like, I felt like he was the only option. But now, after we sold Ashley Young, we signed Bruno soon thereafter, and he shows a certain leadership quality on the pitch that I love. I loved him getting in Lindelof's face after the Sevilla goal. And I love after the game that he said, "Oh, this is normal. We're just passionate." Yeah. This is what I want to see. What I think United fans want to see is players out there. You don't want to see them throwing fists like Lee Boyer and Kieran Dyer did with Newcastle over a decade and a half ago. But you want to see them yelling at each other when things go wrong, like getting at each other. Like, come on, we need to do better than this. And I feel like he offers that leadership that we have been severely lacking. And I haven't seen that from Maguire on the pitch. I feel like off the pitch, doing interviews, doing the various press charity obligations that a captain has to do, he's done a great job. But as far as on the pitch, I felt like as soon as we signed Bruno, that first game he played against Wolves that finished 0-0, he's bossing people around. He's trying to tell people what to do. He seems like the leader. He seems to know what's going on. He clearly has the best footballing IQ of anyone on that team.
Yep.
And if you're going to take the captaincy away from Maguire, which I feel like already at this point, without knowing what's going on, the fact he got himself arrested in a foreign country on holiday, you need to take the captaincy away.
Yep.
And the only player to give it to is Bruno.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't take a lot to, prove that Bruno should be taking that responsibility. I mean, I think he's shown that he's a leader in the team. Since he first got here, he's been involved in the press conferences. He's always the person that gets talked to or interviewed in the post-match interviews. Everybody's interested in his perspective. He's done extremely well at acclimating to his role within Manchester United, and I think he has a unique perspective as an outsider that I think we need to bring into the club as that in that captain role. And I can't think, obviously we have other members that have more seniority, sure, but I think he is defined himself as a true leader already within the club, and I don't think anybody would disagree that he would be a great candidate to be a captain. I mean, he's already yelling at the refs, so we might as well give him the power to yell at the refs, give him a little bit more oomph. So he's going to do it anyway.
Yeah, I think it's a hockey rule that if you're a captain or an associate captain, captains and associate captains are the only ones that have the right to actually speak to the ref in hockey. And that's something that sometimes I wish football had too. But yeah, I mean, you could look at Rashford. Rashford's done great things off the pitch. He's very mature. And rumor has it that him and Brandon Williams were actually hanging out with Maguire earlier in the day. So, you know me, Patrick. You've known me since we were in middle school together.
Yeah.
I'm always the optimist. I'm never cynical. I'm never pessimistic. So I'm just glad that Rashford and Brandon Williams found something else to do that night. They didn't get themselves locked up in that mess. Not that I think they would either anyway. But yeah, I mean, you could look at Rashford and think that you could give him the captaincy. But he's 22. He's done great things off the pitch. But Bruno's a few years older and he's more outspoken. Yes, he's foreign, if you will. He's Portuguese, but he speaks very good English and he's very open with the media. He talks a lot.
And he hasn't been arrested in Greece.
That's right. I just feel like if you're going to take the captaincy away from Maguire, which I think at this point you have to, because I think that's the only punishment that you can give that would mean something.
Yep.
And that doesn't necessarily hurt the club because it doesn't. I mean, we'll get to transfers in a minute, but gosh, that's a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
So I mean, it doesn't look like any right now. It doesn't look like any new signings are coming in defense. So yeah, I mean, you take the captaincy away from him and you give it to Bruno.
Yep. Yeah.
So, yeah,
definitely a good idea.
That's all we're going to talk about with Maguire for now. Future videos, as more confirmed details come to light with what's going on, we'll discuss it. Apparently, the prosecutors will come up with charges tomorrow, formal charges tomorrow. If there are any, I assume there will be, but you know what they say about assumptions. So we'll just wait for that. But we'd like to move on to more positive thing for now and talk about the Premier League schedule. It came out the other day. Patrick, you told me when it came out that you were happy with the schedule. And looking at it, I agree. I never make too much of the schedule because at the end of the day, you're going to play every team home and away. So, but looking at the one thing that was curious to me was we drew Burnley for the first day and it was already postponed because the Premier League decided that United and City would have their first matches postponed because of our commitments in Europe with this odd year that has just ended.
Yeah.
But to me, it just made the most sense to have a Manchester derby on the first day. I know the schedule makers have a rule where none of the top four teams play on the first day, and I believe that none of the top four teams from the last year play on the last day either.
Mm-hmm.
But it's considering this wouldn't be the first game, it just made the most sense to me to pick a Manchester derby on the first day with the knowledge that it's going to get postponed to November or December.
Yeah.
What do you make of that, Patrick?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great idea. I mean, I understand the rules around it, but the derby's already in December, so had they had our first game and postponed it, it would be in December anyway. So I think it would have been a very interesting approach to that. But I think at the same time, I don't think Burnley or Aston Villa are going to argue against it because they get an extra match postponed, a little bit more time to rest. So, but I think it would be a great idea if they had done that.
Yeah, we were talking about Burnley and Aston Villa because Villa was City's opponent, and they don't have to worry about European football, and part of the schedule, which is it's going to be log jammed due to the late start, is that you have, if I remember correctly, I saw a leaked spreadsheet of the English match days for the whole year. And I believe you had European dates during midweeks on 3 consecutive weeks starting in October with the group stage. And then you had European dates on 3 consecutive weeks after an international break at the beginning of November. And you bring up an excellent point with Burnley and Aston Villa because they don't have to worry about European football. So they get an extra week between the end of the season and starting now. And especially with Aston Villa, because they had a pretty emotional last few weeks, roller coaster end of the season where they were able to stay up on the last day and had those wild celebrations in the dressing room that Roy Keane did not approve of. And they're riding an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
And with such a quick start to the next year, having that extra week, I think will just help them more. And they're already looking to recruiting to improve upon what they did last year. Hopefully they won't be in a relegation fight next year. From a Villa point of view. And Burnley, I forget where they finished, but I believe they finished 9th or 10th, if I'm not mistaken. They beat the crap out of us at Old Trafford, the last game I went to. I mean, they already have a pretty good side. I think Jeff Hendrick, who was a pretty decent player for them, left as a free. His contract was up at the end of the year. So they'll look to recruit and build again. So I think it's a good advantage for them. So I think other clubs might be disappointed they didn't draw United or City and have that type of advantage. Don't you think, Patrick?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Well, I definitely agree with Aston Villa. I mean, it I'm sure they're very excited about drawing Manchester City and having that delay, especially like you said with all everything that's been going on. Plus, I think for Villa it's interesting too because it may give them a little bit more time around transfers, so they might relish that opportunity as well. But I think it's tough for me for Burnley because of where they finished. I think it's giving them a bit of a competitive edge going into their first match, which will be everyone else's second match. So I don't think, that seems a little one-sided to me, but if you had stuck someone else in there, like a Brighton or somebody like that, that might've been a little bit better, but luck of the draw.
Yeah. It's interesting though, that I disagree with you a little bit about I don't know if the advantage will necessarily be seen immediately. It might be like tires in Formula One. They have 3 different tires, and they like to run the medium and hard tires because they can go longer in runs. And then, the soft tires kind of wear out faster and you have more speed the first few laps, but then they start to wear out and the driver can't handle them. So I look at Burnley in particular and think that having this delay might slowly build them momentum. Whereas I just think, like you said with Aston Villa, and I said that just with the emotion that they had at the end of the year and the quick turnaround, that just gives them another week just to refocus. Burnley, just that F1 analogy kind of rings to my mind. But not that I'm a big F1 fan or anything. I prefer NASCAR because I'm American. But hate me if you want. I don't care.
Sure.
But we're going to move on to our last topic today. And it's a great one. that there's really no news for. Let's talk about transfers, Patrick.
Yeah.
I know you're excited to talk about transfers.
You mean speculate about transfers?
Speculate, yes. So if you're keeping score at home so far, since the transfer window opened, it's arrests 1, transfers nil.
Transfers no. Well,
So,
I have an interesting. One of the things that I read about this last week that I thought was interesting and wondered what your thoughts were on it was Sergio Romero for Jack Grealish.
I thought
I
that
was
was
Sergio. I'd be like, give it to me. I'm out.
yeah, if I was Sergio, yeah, but at the same time, I saw that too. I was like, that's kind of a slap in his face. Like I felt like he's been a loyal player for the club. He's rarely put a foot wrong.
Yeah.
And you're going to offer him up as a make weight for the 80 million pound price tag that you've slapped on Jack Grealish to get it down to maybe 70 million.
High price, overly high price, I would say.
And you could we've said on our channel that the Sergio has probably been our best player over the last couple, best goalkeeper over the past 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So, I think that's just kind of insulting to him. But yeah, at the same time, if you're Sergio, I mean, you look at the goalkeepers there at Aston Villa. Tom Heaton was injured the back half of the year. They signed Pepe Reina on loan to get them over the line for staying in the Premier League. And that young, I think he was Norwegian goalkeeper, was the one who fumbled the ball over the line against Sheffield United, only for goal line technology not to work.
Yeah.
And not just that, but couple other games he played, he did not look assured at all. So I think it's a great opportunity for him to go to another Premier League side and be the number 1.
Yeah. And with Dean Henderson potentially signing a new contract, and there's already some competition there for the number 1. It's just to me it seems like a good opportunity to be the number 1 for a little while and then transition. I mean, I wouldn't expect him to stay there for very long, but actually for Villa, it might be a good turn and burn. Put him in as number 1 and then send him along.
Well, I think Dean Smith, the Villa manager, would like to play a more possession-based style of play. Now, second half of the year, they had so many injuries and they got slung into that relegation dogfight that he had to adapt and figure out ways to scratch out points.
Yeah.
But I think something about Romero that people don't necessarily realize or see is that he is a good distributor with the ball. I think he's better than De Gea with the ball at his feet.
Yes.
And I think he can add that to his game. And he's a good shot stopper. He really is. I think it would be a good move for Aston Villa. We would still have, if Dean Henderson signs a new contract, with which rumor is, I don't know if you can believe it or not, but that he is going to sign a new contract. So always kind of open up the number 1 competition between Dean and David. Then don't forget, you still have Lee Grant there.
It's true.
The wily old veteran. He can come in and supplant both of them. I'm sure Ole's wise enough to Granty there and give him an opportunity to potentially show his stuff. I remember him playing a blinder for Stoke a few years back when we drew 1-1 and we should have won like 5-1, and he just kept on saving everything because every goalkeeper, like Bono at Sevilla plays their best game when they play Manchester United. But
right.
that's the way it goes when you're a big club. You should expect everyone's best game, right?
That's true. And you should expect of yourself a good game.
That's not always the case. So we are talking about transfers. Patrick, I don't know if you caught my special yesterday podcast on Anchor about Gabriel Magalhaes. I hope I'm saying his name right. It's been 24 hours since I published that. and he's nowhere closer to being a United player. And one report read that he was giving it 48 hours to see. As far as I heard today, was that we went into Lille, but we didn't come in with the same amount with the same amount of money as Arsenal, which is really tough to take.
Yeah.
That Arsenal has reportedly had a fee of £22.5 million roughly accepted for the player. We come in with 20. In this market, 22-year-old showing a lot of promise in a position I feel desperately need.
Mm-hmm.
Is this just more banter for Twitter that we can't come up with a couple more million and match Arsenal's fee for a player and representatives who seem to be stalling to see if United will come in for him?
Yeah. Well, to me, it's just evidence that there's a willingness or a issue with approvals to sign some of these players and make some of these deals. And we know that, Ed Woodward is not the fastest person in the world to, approve these things, but still, there's Ole many times has said, here's my wish list. And we have nothing of it so far. And I think that there's a backlog, and I think that backlog is an unwillingness to spend money. And that's really unfortunate. And because it's so desperately needed. And I don't think the Glazers or Woodward really understand how important this is. And I nothing against Ole and his management style, but sometimes I don't think he's the one to go in there with a hammer and just lay down this is what we need, and this is what's going to happen style of management. And I think that I'm purely speculating really at this point, but at some point someone needs to push this over the edge.
Yeah, the speculation standpoint, Ole probably sees Mourinho has done that with the hammer and got himself fired. Now Mourinho did other things to get himself fired, like throw the current squad he has under the bus completely and drive forward and then back over them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, he might be too nice and realizes he's in his dream job, so he's going to do whatever he can with the resources he has and do the best job he can do with that. But at the end of the day, and I said in my rant about Joel Glazier in particular, because he has ultimate say over player personnel decisions, and that's where I think we get bogged down into not doing things quickly, is that Ed comes to him and says, oh, we're going after this player. And Joel's like, okay, let me take a look at him. Then Joel spends 100 hours watching that player's games on various websites or whatever, and doing research of the current market value, and then ultimately comes with a yes or no. And by that time, the club's just pissed off with us, or the players move to another club.
Yeah. And
at the end of the day, you got to trust your scouts. You got to trust your football people in place that they're going to make the right decision.
Yep.
And Joel Glazier does not do that. He loves Anthony Martial, and Mourinho hated him.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, he might have an eye for a decent player, but at the same time, I don't think Joel Glazier has any clue of how we want to play or how Ole wants to play.
Right.
He's just looking at the player to see, oh, is he worth this amount? He's worth that amount if he comes in and can offer something in the way that Ole wants to play, which is, as you say,
attacking full frontal football.
Right.
Full frontal football is not the actual term. That's the one I just made up in my mind. But
high pressing football, right?
I will trademark full frontal football, but
full
not
frontal
fullfrontalfootball.com. I'm not trademarking that one.
Yeah. No, I think it's high pressing football, right? That's what Ole says.
Exactly.
We're starting to play high press, or wait, we're all playing high pressing football. So, it's at the end of the day, the Glaciers need to just go.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, the other thing too that I've been seeing, and I kind of see this narrative going as well, is like Ole is the first manager to start eight young new players for the first time in so many years, and maybe there's this narrative that's being talked about how we're not going to spend any money on new players and just mentor and grow our squad, which at this point, given our current status, I mean, that's an admirable goal, and I think that's a goal that any club wants to be in. But I think given our current status and our current bench, we're not in the position to do that. United is not in the position to do that. We need to bring in talent if we're going to, do well in the next season. But I do kind of see that narrative like working its way around.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think there's going to start to be an over reliance on our youth academy because
Yep.
LA has had success with it mostly this year, and we are looking at I keep reading news about us signing youth players and more youth players, fullbacks, and all this stuff. And you're right. I think that is going to start being the narrative that we're not going to sign players. We're just going to start promoting from youth and hope that it goes well.
Yeah, which I do think too that, I mean, there's other signs that's that thought process is also working and should be working in tandem with signing new talent. But with Heath Chong going to Werner Bremen, which I think is a great loan. When he comes back, he'll be fantastic, I'm sure. I hopefully, but I think that's also a good sign of kind of that organic growth. But that can't be the only focus. And if we don't sign anybody, that'll be a really big problem.
Yeah, I agree. But unfortunately, the curtain is now closing on the theater of football. As always, hit us up on Twitter at Theater of Football. And for Patrick, I'm Mike. Hope you have a great weekend, and we'll be back next week.
Cheers, everyone.
Oh, hello. Thank you for watching the Theater of Football. If you think Mike got it wrong yet again, please leave your thoughts in the comment section below.